ahead and get started. Thank you all for being here. All right, guys, it's 11:01, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Building Better Lives Education Community Conversation. This is going to be an interactive learning and sharing session, so we really want all of your participation in today's group so that we can get the most. I'm Adrienne Kennedy, and I'm here with my partner, Tamara Walls. And hold on one second, my screen is stuck. Oh. Sorry, technical difficulties already. I'm Adrienne Kennedy. I'm here with Tamara Walls, and we are going to facilitate the conversation today. So before we get started, we want to give you an opportunity to grab a journal or a piece of paper to capture any helpful takeaways that you might get in today's session. And while you're doing that, once you've done that, we want to have you share in the chat box just your school, what school you're with, your role at the school, and tell us one thing that you're grateful for. All right. We got some gratitude going on in the chat box yet?
Yes, here we go. We got Brittany from Galloway Ridge. She's grateful for her family and a safe home. Eakin Elementary, Cindy, she's grateful to be healthy and safe. Hello, Eakin.
Hello.
Brett from PB, and I saw Betsy from PB. Grateful for tools like this that can help keep people connected.
Awesome.
Darby Wood.
All right, I'm seeing people from all over.
Highland, Finland.
Norton, okay.
It's a good representation from the districts.
Good. And I'm seeing a lot of gratitude.
A lot of gratitude.
For Disney Plus. Yeah. Yes. Aren't we all? Okay, great.
And definitely the sun shining, yes.
Yes.
And good health.
Absolutely. All right, thank you guys for sharing, and feel free to continue to share in the chat box.
All right, so today's must be truths. Okay, so today we are definitely going to keep you in your comfort zone and hopefully do a little bit of stretching, but we definitely will not put you in the panic zone. We want this to be a safe space. And so we will be learning by doing. We are going to, as we go through this facilitated process, participate in activities that we think will be useful, and there are ones that you can take back with you to use with students or staff. with honoring you where you are. We recognize that this pandemic and the swift shift to online learning has impacted people differently. And so, where I shared before, we want this to be a safe space. We want to make sure that everyone feels safe to share, learn, and grow. And then lastly, we offer an invitation to continue to support you after today, and that is through our coaching. And I will introduce our team at the end. So with this virtual engagement, probably by now, a lot of you have been on Zoom and a lot. And so you might be familiar with the command center, but if for those who aren't, either at the top of your screen or at the bottom, you will see where you can unmute yourself when we invite you to unmute. We ask that you stay muted during this time, but also share your video so that way we can see your wonderful face. And then use the chat feature whenever prompted, or if you have a question throughout our presentation. A little bit of housekeeping. Breakout rooms are a great way to foster connections. So we will be doing breakout rooms during this session. We ask that you participate when that time comes. When prompted, you'll need to click Join Breakout Room. And we will also do a countdown towards the end of that breakout session. So that way you can wrap up conversations. And then we will bring you back to the main room and share out. And with that, I think we can get started, Adrienne.
All right, thank you, Tamara. So the focus of today's conversation is going to be on connecting with students. And so what we want to talk about is how we can build connectedness for students in this ever-shifting virtual context. So when we talk about school connectedness, what we're really talking about is the degree to which students believe that their school community cares about them. And not just academic progression, right? But the degree to which the students feel that they're cared about as people. The brain, you guys know that we talk a lot about the brain. It filters information and interactions through a lens of safety and relationship. And one of the biggest things and the best things that we can do during this uncertain time that we're in right now for each other and for our students is to continue to foster those relationships. During this time. And keeping connections with students not only helps to promote school connectedness, but it helps them to feel safe. And I think we can all agree that it's really important right now for our students to feel safe. And it also sets the tone for when you return to school in the fall. So I have a video that I want to show you all about how some teachers are going about connecting with students. So we'll watch the video, just a few minutes of it, and then we'll come back and discuss.
What the science of learning and development tells us is that we need to create learning environments which allow for strong long-term relationships for children to become attached to school and to the adults and other children in it. When children have experiences of closeness and consistency and trust, oxytocin is released. Oxytocin has many, many positive effects on the development of the brain. So when we think about a relationship, we're not just talking about being nice to a child. We're talking about a child having an experience of attunement and trust strong enough to release the hormone oxytocin.
Good morning, Ariana. How you doing today? The purpose of the morning greeting is to connect with them and to just make sure that I'm seeing them as humans. Like I'm making that relationship with them, making that bond.
I prioritize relationship building because getting to know them is the best part of the job.
When I come in the morning, we usually talk about things that are happening in our community.
We're trying to build caring and respect.
Teacher is trying to understand who I am and my values as a person.
When I have a free 45 minutes or an hour, I think to myself, I could sit down and catch up on grading, or I could go and make connections, whether it's a smile or a joke or a reminder. It validates their presence in the building.
Rock it out in the art room. It starts from so much honesty and transparency with kids. It's really easy to strive to be this like idealized, always.
Okay, so in the interest of time, we won't watch the whole thing, but I just wanted to give you guys a clip of how teachers are going about connecting with students. Oops, sorry. Let me get back here. Okay. And before we move on, I just want to take a moment to just acknowledge that the video does show teachers and students in school buildings. And when I first saw that, I have to say it did make me a little sad. So I just want to acknowledge that some of us may feel that a little bit and give space for us to feel that sadness that we're not in the physical presence with students and with our colleagues, and that we've had to make this shift into the virtual context. But even with that, I think that we have to make the shift into online learning and distance learning. And so let's talk about what that looks like now. So as we start our conversation today, like Tamara said, we're going to be putting you all in breakout groups. And what we want you to do in these groups is discuss, what does connecting with students look like now? Now that students are not in the building, now that we're in this virtual context, what does connecting with students look like? And also, what are you doing to try and reach those students who haven't been connecting online? We want you to talk about that and share. And remember, when we talk about school connectedness, that's the belief that students have that adults and peers in the school care about their learning as well as about them as individuals. So, hold on, another shift here. So when you go in your breakout rooms, what we want you to talk about is what's working with connecting with students. Who is it working for? Is it working for just students who are pretty good with connecting online? Is it working for other students? Why is it effective? Why is it working? And we also want you to talk about what are the challenges with connecting to students. So those are the things that you're going to be talking about. You will have, Tamara's going to put you in breakout groups, and there'll be a coach, one of those groups, to help facilitate the conversation. So if you get stuck, you have someone who can help kind of bring the conversation back. So we're going to go ahead and break you out. Tamara, are we ready?
We are ready.
Okay.
I will open up the rooms now.
Great. We'll see you guys back in just a few minutes.
Looks like everybody should be back. All right, well, thank you all for participating in that breakout session. Hopefully you were able to have some very meaningful conversations. At this time, we would like for you to share out with our larger group what you identified that was working, why it's working, and what are some of the challenges. So I will unmute or invite you to unmute yourself and you can share out.
Okay, and you just send them straight to Westland. Okay, awesome.
How about, well, I'll let you unmute yourself.
I think one thing that one of the people in our group talked about that's working is for the students that turn in the most work for the week, she's door dashing pizza to them.
Ooh.
And I think that's an amazing option to motivate kids, because we know they love food.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
That is a great idea.
I'm going to be stealing that.
I live in a different district and I might have to send that out to my teachers like, huh.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Beth. I saw you unmuted. Did you want to share something?
Oh, no.
Okay, no problem. Maybe a few other folks have.
You know what, I was sharing with my group that I peeked into the 5th grade Google Classroom Meets, and they had about 20 kids in there playing quizzes. And the kids were sounding just like they were absolutely in the classroom, enjoying every minute. So I'm thinking that might be a good way to get the kids excited about getting into the Google Meets.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Sonia. Appreciate that. Our group, we were talking about some of those kind of games as well, and one that I had only recently heard of, but I think maybe some other folks hadn't, was a GIMKit, GIMKIT. It's one that's maybe a little bit better for kind of intermediate, middle school, younger high school age kids, but it's kind of a fun, more competitive than, kind of like Kahoot, but a little more competitive, and that was one that people were enjoying. I put it in the chat box there too if you hadn't heard of that one.
Thanks for putting that in the chat, Jesse.
In our group, they were talking about how at Eakin, a lot of the teachers are seeing success when their meetings are going after the kind of light, fun engagement in terms of like playing games or playing Two Truths and a Lie, or doing those kinds of things. They're getting more participation when the content of the meeting is just very relational. And then a lot of everyone in my room is seeing that teachers in general are just bending over backwards to connect with kids in any conceivable way, and that flexibility is key, but also just like shouting out how creative and hardworking teachers are being to go after those connections even when there are barriers and it's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys are doing an amazing job.
Yes.
Being so creative and thinking outside the box and keeping those connections with students. Yeah.
I can go real quick. Lily with Darby Woods talked about having dojo meetings and class meetings, calling home, emails home, games, scavenger hunts, dances. And she's been getting really good turnout. But we also talked, Christy with Eakin was talking about working with special ed, kind of has created, there's some difference when working with the special ed population, and it's been harder to engage them. She's also being very creative, however, can't leave the home. But, you know, it's because I apparently used to go knock on doors and really try to connect with the students, and has a good rapport with the students and the families, but they are not wanting, the parents are not wanting their kids on FaceTime or doing any of that interactive stuff, which is, I think, unique to maybe Eakin, if anyone can speak to that, if anyone's having that issue. And then if Christy or Lily, you want to, you know, chime in and give a little information there.
I teach at Eakin. My name's Cindy. But I know recently a lot of my students have been dealing with just gun violence in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so they're not getting enough sleep. So some of the kids are sleeping in late, and I have my meeting at 9:30. So a lot of the kids are missing the meetings.
Yeah. So yeah, when that elevated stress in the neighborhood and the community, you know, and people and parents are really just wanting to focus on keeping their children safe. And everybody, I think, is really overwhelmed right now. So.
And I'm from Eakin too, and we're in the middle of Ramadan. So a lot of their schedules they're up during the night and they're sleeping during the day.
Yep.
And then if some of the children are fasting too, energy levels and wanting to hop on and do work and things, you know, they're sleeping or they're just, you know, not right now. And it goes through the whole month, Ramadan does. So that's been a challenge for us because they're almost in a different schedule. I can call at 1 o'clock during the day and they'll tell me they're sleeping. So that's been a little bit of a challenge because they're on the opposite schedule.
You know, Adrian, our group had some conversations about some of those challenges too, about, you know, some older students working or challenges with childcare and such. But, you know, I think with every challenge, there's an opportunity for, you know, learning and growth. And when I think about the definition that you gave us about school connectedness, about, you know, do students believe and know that adults and teachers care about them as a person? What's interesting about this remote learning is that, yes, we're apart physically, but in some ways we're more involved in our students' lives than we've ever been before. We're getting kind of a glimpse into what does daily Ramadan life look like? What's happening in your neighborhood? What is your living room like? Because normally I see you in my classroom, but now I'm seeing you in my living room. And that's really increasing in me more empathy and more concern and more care for my students. Now, the challenge is, how do I express that in a way so that my students know that I genuinely care about them as an individual? But this whole experience is giving us as teachers a new glimpse and an added insight into what day-to-day life is for our students that maybe before it was kind of hidden for us.
That's a good point, Jesse.
Jesse, we were talking about the very same thing in our room, how it's increased, you know, empathy for our kids and, you know, giving us the opportunity to look at new ways to, you know, as we move forward, as we gain insights, as we learn more about kids, as they're able to talk to us one-on-one or they're able to communicate in different ways, how does that open up new doors? So we've talked about how there are some positives that can come out of this experience. So that's good to hear.
In our group, we was group 3, kind of the same thing. The video chats, the face-to-face was what was hard, but the phone calling and actually the Google chats were the things that were working. And it kind of speaks for the age of the children that we're dealing with, but the times that we're in, where texting is one of the more popular things than actually face-to-face conversations. And so those were some of the things that were working. And we also had a teacher from Econ in the chat who had English as second language. So that is really tough when they can't understand fully, but they utilize siblings when they had the opportunity to use older siblings. So that was something that was working for them. And something that was also mentioned was Google Voice. I'm not sure if teachers know about that, but one, you can mask your number when calling, but also it will translate. I didn't know that, so wanted to make sure I shared that because that's something that's working as well.
I didn't know that either.
That's a great resource. Thanks, Crystal.
And group
You know
5.
what? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I was saying.
I was just.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask a question about that Google Voice because I had one a couple of years ago that I used successfully, and recently I was trying to use it and I thought they had changed the platform. Is that something now that you have to buy in order to be able to use Google Classroom? I know before it used to be free. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So what Jamie just said in the chat is that she misspoke, but it won't translate, but Google Voice, with Google Voice, parents could easily copy and paste your message into Google Translate, and that is free. And I know that's something I used when I worked directly with parents and children in the past, is Google Translate, and we would copy and paste each other back and forth into Google Translate.
I do that a lot with my Hispanic parents. I can, like, on my phone, I could do like the English to Spanish translation. They do it back. So that's how we would even do staff, like our conferences. And that's helpful.
There's an editor on your phone. Are you doing that on your phone or through your laptop?
I do it on my phone.
Okay. So it's an app. It's an app, right? Google Translate.
Yeah.
It's an app.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's an app called Talking Points that uses human translators as well, so it's a better quality translation. It's kind of like Dojo, where you have to get your parents signed up with a text code or something, but they can use their own language. You can send out one message and it will go in Somali or Russian or Ukrainian or Spanish to the family's language of need. And it is really
And you
nice.
said it was talking points?
Yes.
Okay.
I just haven't had parents sign up for it. I have been texting them. I made some calls using my Google Voice number and they wouldn't answer, but I found that once I sent a text message, they were a lot more likely to answer. I mean, I don't answer unknown calls either because it's usually spam.
Same.
Awesome.
Katie wasn't able to be in one of the breakout rooms, but she did share with Adrian and I that she is texting parents daily and being able to connect that way. And then also having office hours for her students. And she has some students that get on for the entire hour just to do work and be able to have that live interaction. So that's two great things that she was doing. And I think, Katie, you're from Eakin, correct?
Yes, I'm from Eakin.
Yes.
Yes, and my partner and I do everything together. So we share office hours and Google Meets, and so it's nice.
That's good having that partnership. So that's another connection. Good for you as a teacher, having that daily connection.
Great.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for sharing out. We really appreciate it. This next video that Adrian is going to share, we thought that it was, we really thought this teacher was very cool. She is Cindy Willits from Pennsylvania, and she has already been doing some virtual education with her students. And then during this pandemic, she's found some really unique ways to connect. So let's just take a look at that.
Shall I speak in an English accent? I am Cindy Willits, and I'm a 6th grade teacher with Pennsylvania Virtual Charter School. Okay, because we are here for the party. All right, hi there, folks. It is lab time. Well, one of the ways we bridge the gap is just to be more human. We just be ourselves. I let the kids get on webcam when they're answering questions. I like to use the webcam a lot. I like to dress up a lot. We do our labs, we do experiments, we do other kinds of things that you wouldn't necessarily think that you could do online. I love to work with them with their science labs because I get a lot of student volunteers. They can mess things up and I can mess things up and it's great fun. You have to find ways to get them engaged. We can differentiate what we're doing on the fly. And I think the idea of the fact that you can appeal to different ways that they learn and different ways that they experience their curriculum, just like that, is really one of the main benefits that I enjoy with them. Teaching is a learning adventure for me and for my students. I think I learn as much from them as they do from me. And basically connecting with them on this adventure is really what it's all about.
All right. So connecting with students. I know that the teacher she's already been working in a virtual school, but I think that it's good to kind of see what some folks who are doing that are already doing to help connect with students. I also wanted to show you all some examples of what folks are doing to stay connected with students. This is a photo grid that teachers at Westland High School did for a student who hadn't been connecting as much. So these teachers created this for the student as a way to say, hey, we're proud of you and we miss you. And notice that this wasn't about you're not turning in assignments or you're not logging in. It was just a message to say, we care about you as an individual. Also, here are some examples of activities that you can do virtually. The virtual morning meetings and class journals can be completed in Google Forms as shown, or in our example, using Google Slides or PowerPoint. Here are some temperature checks that can be done virtually using Kahoot or some other platform, just to check in with students and gauge how they're doing. We've also seen schools send postcards to students or create videos to tell students how much they're missed and how much they're appreciated. So what we'd like to do now is create a board to capture some of the strategies and ideas that we've talked about so far so that we can remember and so that we can come back to what was shared here today. So Tamara's going to put the link in the chat to our Padlet. So what you're going to do is copy the link. You'll probably have to minimize Zoom and then paste the link into your browser. And then once you get to the page, let's see, I'm going to go here. Once you get to the page, you can double click anywhere on the page to get a virtual post-it. And what you're going to do is share your takeaways, a strategy, something that you learned from either the big group discussion, the breakout room, or the videos that we've watched.
And then if anyone is struggling with putting it into Padlet, you can always put it in the chat. That is an option. But everybody should see I put the link in there. Thank you, Jen.
Hey, Debbie.
All right. Great seeing all of your ideas.
Got a few things to look at. There's a lot coming up here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's neat seeing all these ideas and thinking about the connections to the 6 R's that we always talk about in schools. You know, even that video you just showed, that teacher was so rewarding and engaging. You know, and seeing on here people talking about relationships and you know, how important those relationships are. It's so interesting how things are really different with virtual learning, but yet you know, in the same way that in the classroom, I can be teaching you face to face, but if I'm not relational, if I'm not rewarding, if there's no rhythm to it, you're probably just going to fall asleep, you know? And I can do virtual learning by sending you an email and asking you to write me an email back. Well, that's not very, you know, rewarding or connecting. But if I make a video where I'm, you know, dressed up in some crazy outfit and I'm inviting you to a hangout where we're going to play a virtual game, well, there's probably going to be a better likelihood you're going to connect.
Absolutely.
I think it's also important just to remember for teachers that, like, we see all the things that you're already doing, and it's not that you have to do more and extra work. It's just thinking about how to make it fun also for you, that the things that are rewarding for you are going to bring more energy of yours to the table, and kids will respond to that as well. So sometimes, I know I used to be a teacher and I would see like things like that and I'd be like, oh man, that looks really awesome. I don't have 12 hours to do that. You know, so think about what you can do with the time that you already are spending to make the work that you're already doing more rewarding and relational for you and the students.
Yes. Thank you, Joanna.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, this is
good. So let's go a little bit to the yellow zone that earlier when I mentioned that we will keep you in a comfort zone, but may do a little bit of stretching. So our challenge for you is to really make an actionable step And so one of my favorite quotes is from W. Clement Stone, and it's "Big doors swing on little hinges." It's just a great reminder that it's the little things that have big impacts. And so we invite you now just to share in the chat. I will do what by when. What's something actionable that you can do? So Adrian and I have put together that I will send an "I miss you" postcard to all my students by May 8th. So we just invite you at this time just to share. You can either do it in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself, you can share that way too.
All right, I'll try to contact my students by the end of the year in some way, either text, phone, video, or email. Okay.
Thank you, Jamie.
Call students who are MI, yes. Send an invite to all of my kids for a game by Friday. Cool. I'll make a goofy video for our students by May 22nd. Awesome.
I can't wait to see that, Brittany. Joanna says, "I will check in with 10 more teachers at Westland by the end of the week." That's great.
Awesome.
Stephanie's also looking forward to Brittany's video. Jen said, "I will send out my digital read aloud and digital assignments to my Ekin today." Today. Ooh, Jen, the pressure is on today.
All right, somebody's gonna make a photo grid, Amber, thank you, by next Friday. I hope to invite students to do something fun via Google Hangout before the end of the school year. Yes. Thank you, Ashley.
All right. Well, let's, Lamar's gonna send some TikTok videos for students that are difficult to engage. That's great.
Nice.
Lamar, we definitely need to see those videos.
Yeah, the kids love TikTok.
Yes, I think I've almost perfected TikTok during this time. I have a high schooler. All right, so thank you. Everyone keep sharing. We're going to move on with our little plug for self-care because it is definitely necessary. It is not selfish, and it is the one thing that a lot of people struggle with, but it is absolutely necessary, especially during this time. I found this great little clip on online that you can't pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself first. And that is so true. You all are trying to pour into your students and pour into each other, and it is very hard to do that if you are empty. So our next challenge for today is to do at least 10 minutes of something that brings you joy. For me, it is sitting down and having a cup of coffee. It is not something that I need to do, but it's something that I like to do. And so I'm very intentional about having that cup of coffee every day. That's my little 10 minutes sitting on the porch, drinking that cup of coffee really helps me to center and be calm. It's very regulating. Yes, Debbie, very, very regulating. And so that's our challenge today. Is it doesn't have to be something huge, but just something that brings you joy, and just be intentional about doing it every day for at least 10 minutes. So next, I want to circle back to what we said in the beginning, is that we want to continue to support you all. This is our team, and we are here for you. So we have our coaches and our service coordinators. Our coaches are Christine, Jen, DePriest, Stephanie, Crystal, Joanna, Laura, and then Adrian and myself. And then we have Lawrence and Lamar, who work directly with students at Norton, Westland, Galloway Ridge, and Pleasant View. And that is our team. We also have Jesse Schrader, who is one of our deputy directors, and Debbie Holycross, who is the other deputy director. Many of you see them all the time. And so we just want to let you guys know that we are here to support. We are here to continue to coach and just be a support to you during this time.
So we want to thank you all for joining us in this conversation today. We hope that it was helpful. What we ask is that you would please share your feedback with us so that we can make any adjustments, maybe to make this as beneficial as possible for you all. Tamara's going to drop the link in the chat for you to go to the Google form to complete the feedback form. We appreciate your feedback for sure. Does anyone have any questions at this time before we conclude?
Adrian, I'll just, make another plug for coaching for everyone. I know there's a ton of resources out there. There's free webinars, there's free, accounts that you can get. There's so many things throwing around, and we appreciate everyone who spent time today to be with us. What we believe is really valuable with our team is that we connect with you personally through this coaching and technical assistance, and sometimes just having somebody to bounce ideas off of. So reach out to the coach in your building, reach out to myself or Debbie or Adrian or Tamara, and we'll make sure our contact is there in the chat box as well. But we really are passionate about connecting with you kind of in that one-on-one space to help you figure out how do we kind of navigate these tricky, this kind of new challenges that we all have together. So please don't hesitate to reach out so we can continue to work together on that.
Absolutely. Okay, well, if there are no questions, then we want to thank you again for your details. It was beneficial. Again, like Jesse said, please feel free to reach out. We definitely are here for you. We want to support any way we can. So we will be, you'll probably be hearing from us at some point before the end of the school year, definitely. And feel free to reach out to us. We're here for you. Thank you, everyone, for your time today.
Yes, thank you for your time, for your participation. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Happy Teacher Appreciation Week.
Yes.
Thank
You
you.
guys are amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks, teachers.
Thank you for everything you do.